Sorry, I just realized my mic was not on. So hello everybody and welcome to Techlore. We will be doing the stage today along with all of our Discord members, and like the intro screen said, we will be prioritizing the stage and our patrons, and then we will do the live chat last. We are not following the live chat very much, so do not expect to have your questions answered in the live chat. So welcome everybody to the stage. I hope you all can hear me. I am green on the screen, so I assume you can. And let me go ahead and make sure Jonah can speak. And let's go ahead and kick this off. So feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions for us. And we're just going to have some fun today and talk about privacy and security. And that's really it. Don't be shy, people. Does anyone have any questions to ask? How are you doing, Jonah?
Oh, I'm doing just great. This
Do-
is already such a disaster though because you entered a custom topic instead of starting the event that was already made on Discord, so now it's all you didn't notify the people who were interested.
Yikes.
Just bad news.
Actually, if you watch the live stream, I kept clicking start the event and it wouldn't do it. I had to do the custom event for it to go through. So I think Discord bugged out if you DVR on the live stream.
I'll check that evidence, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself actually? I feel like not everyone knows who you are. You've never made an appearance on the channel.
Oh yeah, that's true. Um, I'm Jonah. I'm the community manager for Techlore, and I'm also the founder of Privacy Guides. So that's my expertise here.
Yeah, Jonah has a lot of awesome insight. He actually looks over a lot of our scripts, and we recently discovered he is a pro at titles and thumbnails.
Yep, that is my true calling, actually. Yeah, I haven't mentioned it yet. Here, let's see.
So no one yet has asked to speak. So again, just reminding you all, you can all ask any questions, and you can all speak and ask us a question, and we'll get back to you. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and check out our other sections. We Oh, there's a perm issue, which explains
Yeah.
that. Okay. Do you mind fixing that, Jonah?
Yeah, I'm taking a look right now.
Sorry, everyone. In the meantime, let me look at the live chat. Yeah, not very, unless something like this happens and we have nothing to answer, then we'll check the live chat. Raising hand is disabled. There we go.
It doesn't let me
I
turn
enabled it.
that on.
There you guys.
Oh,
There we go. All right. We are now officially going to get started. So I'm inviting Static. Hey, Static.
Hello. What would your advice be for someone that's just entering the privacy space?
Well, how far into the privacy space? Like for you or someone you
Well, like,
know?
well, I entered it quite a while ago, but someone that just started to be privacy aware, like they've just started to maybe think about their own privacy online and on the internet.
I don't know. I think there's several approaches to take. Probably a good place to start is just doing the basics, right? Moving to end-to-end encrypted messaging when you can, and probably starting to think about services that you might want to migrate to. Because if you just discovered privacy, you're likely using many unprivate services, and that's something that's probably been a normal part of life. So kind of just starting to explore the options out there, and also not having the expectation that you're going to be Edward Snowden overnight, I think. And I don't know if Jonah has other advice there.
Okay, because a few of my friends, they still use, of course, WhatsApp and other applications that aren't really, they really aren't, um, yeah, but they are struggling to try move over, and I'm currently trying to help them, like, just become more privacy aware and just move everything to end-to-end encrypted applications and open source applications, and yeah,
Yeah, and this is
I'm
like
quite
a
sorry if I,
yeah, and that's like a
I'm
long
quite sorry
term.
if I,
Sorry, it's a long term battle, is also what I would say there because they might all be using WhatsApp and all these services, and at least WhatsApp does have end to end encrypted messaging, um, in its own way, and like it's strong, but you have other concerns with WhatsApp with the metadata, and you can still report messages to their moderation team. Without getting too far into it, I would really just say focus on just slowly trying to transition people over. I still have people who don't use Signal, and I still have to use SMS for them. So I'd really just focus on looking at privacy as a long term journey and not something that you're going to make an impact on necessarily overnight.
yeah,
Like, I really think that that's the best approach you can have.
I'm really sorry if uh, I was like, all my speech was very broken.
Oh no, don't worry. Don't worry. It's all digital stuff. It happens to everyone. I don't know if Jonah, did you have anything else to add there?
No, that's the biggest thing that I was thinking as well. It's definitely a long time goal because there's so many people that you like communicate with that also kind of have to be on board with your privacy journey. It's not just like a thing that you can do your on your own, right?
Do you recommend any good cloud services for just general storage? I myself have moved to a service from a recommendation from someone on the server, but a lot of my friends they still use Google Drive, and I've told them about a lot of alternatives like Ice Drive, Nextcloud, and a bunch of other stuff, but they the reason they stay with Google Drive is because of the amount of storage they get with it. So, is there any good alternative that maybe has a great free option? I know privacy doesn't come for free, but yeah.
Um, so I actually have a browser scene here for the live stream. You won't be able to see us on Discord, but I really recommend uh, going to our resources section on techlore.tech, and also there's privacyguides.org, both of which have their cloud recommendations. In short, if you're able to self-host Nextcloud, that's a really good way to go. But if you're looking for more of a mainstream provider, I'm actually a big fan of Mega personally, and we've been using Mega internally for our production workflow. But you do have services like IceDrive, FileIn, Sync.com, and really there's several options at your disposal. Really, the main thing you're looking for is end-to-end encryption. In the cloud world, it'd be zero knowledge encryption. And actually, I don't want to cut anyone off because I really wish we had the time to respond to everyone, but I think we're going to limit because it looks like we have some, at least for now, we're going to limit people to one question. So we give everyone a chance to ask a question. Um, yeah.
Uh, anyway, goodbye.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining, Static.
No problem.
All right. We have a message from one of our patrons, and their question is, how would you recommend using Uber and other ride-sharing apps? First, I think Uber has a web app, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how well it works. I've never used it, but that's probably an option. You can also keep Uber inside a work profile or a second user account if you have an Android device that does that. Um, Next best case scenario, you have a separate device that you use for Uber, but that requires you having two devices. And worst case scenario, if you're using like an iPhone and it's your only device, you have to install it on there. But at the very least, we recommend using email aliasing, using a strong password, and just doing all you can inside the app. Some things you just can't avoid.
It's also like payment security, like you could be using privacy.com and make like card aliases, that kind of thing. Um,
Definitely. That's a
and
good one too.
generally,
Yeah. Do you have any other outside of like would you say a VPN would help?
it certainly could. The issue with Uber is that it kind of inherently has things like your location because it needs to know where to send the cars. So there's only like a certain amount you can do.
Hmm. I'm gonna go ahead and invite Botterwaddle.
So, in terms of like Minecraft and Log4j and everything, is it pretty much patched, or do I still have to be worried about it?
Definitely a Jonah question, I think.
Um, I haven't been keeping up with exactly where we're at with that lately. I think it's been patched in Minecraft specifically. I'd have to double check, so don't quote me on that, but I don't think there's like an issue running Minecraft service or that kind of thing. Um,
Okay.
Log4j it's something that's in like embedded in a lot of programs, not just Minecraft, and we're going to be seeing like impact for quite a while, I think, because there's just a lot of things that are affected that we don't even probably know about yet. So it's somewhat of an issue, but
All right, thanks.
Going to invite Togen. Also invite Berserk. Living dangerously. All right, we'll have Berserk go
Hey,
first.
how you guys doing?
Good, you?
Fully caffeinated, thank you.
So what you want to know?
Quick, first off, I wanted to thank you guys, Techlore and the New Oil, for all the amazing content you guys provide. Just wanted to get that out there first. But how do you deal with the frustration of people you care about in your life not really understanding the importance of privacy? Because I don't know about you, but I pull my freaking hair out trying to have conversations with people that just don't take it seriously.
We'll both probably have our own answers. Do you want to go first, Jonah, or do you want me to go?
Um, for me, it's I'm not like very confrontational, so I kind of just have to recognize that there's only so much I can do for other people, and I just have to um, do the best I can for myself and kind of let other people worry about it. I'm happy to tell people things that they can do to improve their privacy, but at a certain point, like they have to also be involved in that. It's not something that you can do for them. So
Yeah, I just I end up feeling like I'm the annoying friend every time I try to mention something.
Yeah, and I don't know, on my end, it I don't know, I'm also not super confrontational about it in real life, and I always tell people I don't know how much having a big YouTube channel helps because I feel like people do listen to me, but I don't think I'm inherently any better at convincing people of why privacy matters. So I just don't know. But I do think a layer of empathy is needed as well, just because like we were all there at one point. None of us were born
Yeah.
to care about privacy, and so they're just where we were some day way in the past. And so I think recognizing that people just aren't where we're at yet, and just I guess being more empathetic towards that can really help you, not necessarily switch them over, but at least keep you motivated enough to keep on going and keep. I mean, again, like we mentioned with the first person who asked a question, like it really is a long-term journey. Like you're not going to move everyone over overnight. But also like be aware, like don't be too annoying with people because like
Yeah.
anything in the world, when you're too pushy, I think it just naturally drives people away. So
Yeah. I tend to point out when a data leak occurs with a service that they happen to use, and I just send them the link just to keep them aware. Maybe that might spark them.
I think that's a good move.
But yeah.
I think, but just keep in mind, and you seem to be aware that that's something that might take a while for them to see. Like you might send someone an article about TikTok. Hey, TikTok's doing this now, and they'll go, "Oh, okay, good to know." Then a few more articles later, they go, "Okay, this seems to be a problem," and maybe they'll at least keep it in the back of their mind. And now they're at the point where they're probably justifying why they can still use TikTok. So again, it's like a small step forward kind of game, because even once people are aware that something's bad, they'll still try to find ways to justify why it's necessary for them. And it really requires something to really break someone away from it. And I think that it can be several different things, and there's not really a single answer for everyone. But hopefully that helps.
All right, thank you. So it absolutely does, and thanks again for the work that you guys do. It's appreciated.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining. And then Token?
Hi, you were talking about secure cloud storage. I've been seeing ads on Brave from Internext, INTERNXT.com. Are you aware of it? Do you have any opinions?
I've never heard of it, so I don't know if Jonah has.
That's not one that I've seen either. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah, it advertises itself as end-to-end. Here,
It
let's
sounds
pull it up.
familiar, actually, but I just,
Yeah.
like, I don't remember it.
Internext Drive is a zero-knowledge cloud storage service based on best-in-class privacy and security. You get up to 10 gigabytes for free.
You know what? I think that
So-
might be... Yeah,
I think this
actually,
it looks
is.
familiar. I think this is one that we looked at
they're the ones
when
who
we were
reached out
making
to
that
us,
cloud
Jonah.
storage video. Oh, did they?
Yeah, they reached out to us and we were looking, and that's why it sounds familiar. I forgot why we dismissed it though.
Well, I'll wait for a report if you bother to make one. I'm not going to trust it right off the bat.
Yeah, sorry about that. We just don't have information
Yeah.
on like every service, but the name is familiar and they've
Yeah.
reached out to us. But that's about all we have right
Off
now.
the top of my head, I think it wasn't included just because of like pricing was the main thing. Like there's a lot of other services that provide more value basically that we highlighted in that video.
Okay, I'll look into your videos. Thanks very much.
Yep. All right. Let me go ahead and quickly check patrons. Nothing there. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and invite Maximus Detritus and Don Hotep. All right. Hey, Maximus. You're not here to yell at me to do my Spanish lessons, are you? Give you a sec to figure out your mic.
Don Hotep, are you around?
Yeah. If neither of you come up, then I'll let Donda in.
I just invited Donda.
Okay. Donda's interesting. Probably a Kanye fan and an Attack on Titan fan. Fun mix. Oh, we got Don Hotep.
Hi.
Hey there.
My question is for like new creators, who are inclined to use, say, Twitter or YouTube. How would one go about, say, setting up a live stream privately or setting up any of those accounts privately? And would you be interested in making guides for that?
To answer your second question first, it's definitely something that I've been playing with, because that's kind of like the secret sauce that I've had to figure out the last several years with the channel. And we didn't start it off perfectly, and now it's at a place I'm very happy with, and it's taken a lot of time. At the root of it, it's just compartmentalization. Techlore is a registered business, the channel set up through the business, everything's set up through the business. It's practically its own identity, but that's not a realistic expectation that you can ask a brand new creator to do. Like, you can't just ask any random creator who hasn't even uploaded a video yet to go ahead and establish a business and go through all of that journey. I would say, really, to break it down, you have to look at your channel like a pseudonym, right? So plan out an email for your channel, get a phone number for your channel, start getting pretty much everything together to keep this as separate from you as possible. I even like to use totally separate devices and things like that. It's something that is very in-depth, and it's kind of a hard question to answer right off the bat, but in short, it really is all about compartmentalization and keeping things as separated as you can. And if you're limited to just one device, that might mean using 2 user accounts. It might mean using a virtual machine. It might mean dual booting. But really, just as much separation as you can get, the better you'll be. And yeah, sorry, it's just a very long thing to answer because it's very complex. But I will let you know that it's something on the radar that I hope to one day tackle, so that creators have those resources, because it's a pretty common question I get.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Donda?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I see the green. I have one question for you, Henry. I'm just wondering if you in the future have any thoughts of collaborating with other privacy-oriented YouTube channels. I know you did 2 collaborations with the Hated one, so I'm just wondering if you're gonna do any other collaborations with other content creators.
Yeah, so we have a list of people that we'd like to collaborate with, and the problem is we have hundreds of videos of our own that we're always falling behind on, and the list only increases. So we have to balance like when we can collaborate, and it's really just not been a priority for us, but it probably should be. We did do that Hated one collaboration, but ultimately there's just not many people to collaborate with. I can name like 5 to 10 people total, like in the YouTube world at least, that we can collaborate with, and I'd say several of which I don't really want to associate with. So it really just we don't have many options. It's not a massive priority right now, but it's something that I do want to do more about, and that's something that Jonah, I want to get Jonah more involved in as well if he can someday, because I think Jonah would be a really good person to hook us up with some of these people.
Yeah, there's no pressure with that. Like, your solo content's amazing, dude. Like, you and Nathan need to keep it up with the podcast, dude. They're like really great.
Yeah, people seem to love Surveillance Support, and I'm really glad it's going to work out. Also, keep an eye out, because Nathan and I are most likely going to be seeing each other in person at Monerotopia in a couple months. So you all might get like an actual real discussion between Nathan and I for Surveillance Support, which would be really fun. And Jonah wants to throw himself in there. So Jonah was like, oh, I should join too, because Jonah will be there. And Nathan's like, why should Jonah be there?
Yeah, definitely not joining. I don't want to talk to him.
But thanks for the kind words. And hopefully we can do more collabs in the future.
Of course. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on here. It was nice speaking to you.
Yeah. I saw a patron message. What are some services or use cases that you don't recommend anonymizing or giving out fake information? That's a good question. Do you want to take that, Jonah, or do you want me to take it? All right, I'll take it. So for me, I would say be careful with government-related services, things that are inherently attached to your identity, right? Like if you have to do taxes, it's tied to you, unless you have some extravagant way of avoiding that, which is probably not legal. So that's really like the main place that I would say you really have to be careful with, is things that are inherently tied to you and things that should be, and this ties into, sorry, my thoughts are all scattered, but I would say the main thing is when it's a service that has to be planted to your identity. And this is a term called planting your flag, right? So planting your flag is when you're essentially claiming services that are yours so that no one else can claim them. And so this is especially useful for people who have public identities. Someone might make a Facebook account just so that no one else can make a Facebook account to claim their identity. And it's a concept that I want to dive further into. I know Michael Basil covers it quite a bit. Nathan from The New Oil has covered it quite a bit on his channel. But I would say pretty much most situations... Oh, Jonah's back. Most situations that involve planting your flag are probably the same situations that you're not going to be looking for anonymity. Also, true anonymity is very hard to achieve, so it's something that I personally recommend really using more as an exclusive thing. Like, you're probably not using Tor browser for everything. You're using Tor for things that can be anonymized. So I would personally, just to set expectations realistically, I would personally save anonymity for more of an exclusive thing than as for the default thing. Welcome back, Jonah.
Sorry about that. I don't know what was going on with my computer there for a second.
Oh, it was your computer? I thought it was your internet. I was about to be like, should have got a Calyx hotspot, man.
Oh, that would have saved me, I'm sure.
I'm gonna invite Doc Stuke and Boss into the chat. All right, Doc Stuke
Hello?
is in. Hello?
So I've been getting into the self-hosting scene, and I've been thinking which is better, renting a VPS or self-hosting, getting an old computer or something like this and hosting at home.
I think it's a Jonah one.
I would say it really depends on what you're hosting. If you're hosting like a lot of sensitive information, or if you need like a lot of storage, like a Nextcloud instance, for example, hosting at home is probably the way to go for a lot of people because cloud storage can get very expensive, and you might not want to trust some of that data with like a third-party provider. But there's also services like a Matrix home server, for example, or something that needs like constant, reliable internet access and like good connections to other servers, like so federated stuff, or just stuff that always has to be online that is gonna run a lot better on a VPS most of the time, if that makes sense. So it really kind of depends on what you're self-hosting. There's definitely like room for both options.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not really a technical person, so about that, what would you say? I mean, like coding or writing config files. I've heard about something like Unohost. What's it? What have you heard it? Have you heard about it?
Yeah, Unohost, that's a pretty popular tool that's used to like automatically set up a lot of different services. If you get that running like on a old PC at home or something like that, that's probably a good entry point to self-hosting
Yeah, thank
because
you.
it handles a lot of.
Yeah, thank you really much. Bye.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.
And Boss? Can't hear you, Boss. Give you a few seconds and then I'll go check out the YouTube live chat. All right, let me go ahead and check the YouTube live chat. Ooh, that's a lot. Video about how to be private as possible and creating a business online. That's kind of like the question that we just received not too long ago about having a channel and maintaining a business online is actually a fairly similar process for a lot of people. So there's a lot of overlap there. Yes, there will be differences, but there's a lot of overlap in the process of doing that. Not seeing too much. Thank you for the nice comment, Eva Defense. No, Rob. Rob has been asking this question for like 2 years now. He still hasn't got an answer. How often do you do this? Not too often, but we do PSAs. So if you didn't catch the PSA, that means you're not following us on like any platform. So you need to be following us. And totally, Pablo. Glad you liked the chorus, Corey. Oh yeah, that's a good one. What's the deal with Surfshark and Nord? I guarantee that will be covered in surveillance support in a couple days. So that will be covered. That's probably where we're going to be covering that a lot more extensively.
We have a question in the patron chat, Henry, do you have any plans to do videos about YubiKeys?
Yeah, it's like one of my, like, there's the Nextcloud video series that's always in progress, and then there's the YubiKey 2FA hardware guide. So yeah, that's being worked on. There's a YubiKey plugged into my computer right now. There's a second one next to me, and I just need to put the video together. So it will be done. I have all the resources, I just haven't done it. No requests on Discord. If you've already spoken, you can definitely speak again, because it seems like we got through most people. So if you have any second questions, definitely feel free to step on up. All right. I'm going to invite... I'm not even going to try. I invited the top two there.
Hey man, I have a question about the Silent Link. Do you have like any recommendations? Is it legit, or have someone tried it? Yeah, simple question.
I'd say the Silent Link review pretty much summarizes my thoughts on it. Like, I'm now using it. Their team, or whoever runs it, did get back on Twitter to our review, and they're like, thanks for making this. And they did address a couple of the concerns I had, and they didn't address the other ones super well. I would say proceed with caution, but it gives you what they promise. It's just a matter of whether or not you trust the organization behind it. But like, honestly, they don't have to be that trustworthy to beat what you get from your cell company, in my opinion. So that's why for me, like, I'm still using it and I think it's great. And it's easy because I can easily swap over to another number if I wanted to. So it's been fantastic for me. But yeah, it's nothing I can promise will be safe forever just because there's so little information about the company.
Okay, thank you. I'll proceed with caution, as you said.
Cool. And then right to Abel.
I've been in the privacy bubble for some time now, but my main question is like, what are your recommendations for a younger person starting out adult life with privacy in mind? Because my main issues are things like needing to build credit and just not having money to throw at things like a BNB, mail drop, etc.
That's a good question. Voting is another one, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like where. That's a hard one. If you have thoughts, Jonah, definitely chime in. I don't see it as inherently different from when I was not an adult. Things like credit are still tied to you just as your bank would have been before you were an adult. And children can still have credit scores, technically. I don't know. I think it ultimately still comes down to just separation between your personal life and really just establishing like, okay, tied to me, this is what I'm comfortable being tied to me. And then these are all the things that can't be tied to me and shouldn't be tied to me. If you have something you want to buy online, it doesn't need to be done with your credit card. It can be done with any other private payment method. If you want to establish an email, you can have a personal email, but you can also have several different aliases set up for different services. So I don't know how much is inherently different about being an adult, with the exception of something like voting, which does require, you to register in a lot of states as yourself, and it's probably not legal not to register as yourself anyway. I don't know. That was a really bad answer, so I wonder if Jonah has better insight there.
You could also look at it as like, at the question, you can be private with like low funding, basically. Like, it's kind of a problem in the privacy world that a lot of privacy-centric solutions are a lot more expensive than like mainstream solutions might be, because it's not being subsidized by like advertising and selling data, that kind of thing. So like if you're just starting out your privacy journey, or if you're just like a young adult, you might not have a lot of money to spend on privacy solutions. It can be difficult. I'm trying to think of, I don't know if I have like any advice in that regard. I think it is like an issue in the privacy community though, in general.
Okay, yeah. And I feel like there's also a lot of focus on like on kind of, what is it, damage control, like when you're already out there, what you can do to kind of tame back. and fix some things, because I know I've had issues with like kind of where not being out there, it kind of shoots me in the foot because I can't, like, privacy.com denied me because they couldn't verify me. So just kind of things like that, they're kind of, it's more annoying starting out, ironically.
That's interesting. I wasn't aware that for privacy.com, like when it first came out, basically. So I think they've changed a lot of their processes recently, it looks like.
True.
That I'm not sure. I think a lot of the focus is on like kind of the aftermath, because it's more difficult for people to clean up like stuff that they've already done when they didn't know about privacy. The advice for, like, for the most part, for getting started is simpler. It's just don't. It does lead to some problems like that. I'd have to think about that some more. Maybe I don't know if Henry has anything to add on.
Yeah, I don't know. This is just a hard question for me to answer. I don't know why, but like it's just not an easy question for me. I don't know if it's something I need to think over more, or I just don't know enough to answer. I think it's also a loaded question, which just makes it hard to answer. So yeah, hopefully you got something out of that.
I did all 3 of your zones, bro, in like the freaking what video was it? Like, it was either the off the grid video or the clean the foot. I don't even remember. But I'm just here to say, if anyone's in this chat listening right now, just know privacy and security takes time to get full, and it may suck going through and through, getting rid of old stuff, but in the end, it is worth it. I will mention that. So
Yeah, it's definitely something that you have to be like in the long haul for.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're talking to a guy who's running cubes on his laptop, so that's great too. But I mean, coming from bad OPSEC to now fully knowing most of at least what I own, because, you know, there's still some stupid throwaway accounts that you can't get rid of, because even if you contact support, you can't get rid of them. But falsify information, there you go, it's the best you can do. And people that are concerned about that too, like deleting accounts, for a quick little tip, if Henry hasn't already mentioned this in a couple of his videos, if you want to sign up for a service, go on Google first and see if the account is available for deletion afterward, in case you don't want to use it. That too should be a thing you guys should get in the hand of, because that is one of, if not the main things you can actually do to help out, in case you want to clear your footprint.
Yeah, that's definitely important.
Oh yeah,
it's not too often, but there's definitely some accounts that like they don't let you close it all.
I personally just started doing that, and noticed a change in my mindset in a lot of things. And I'm literally still going back and deleting a crap ton of accounts because, you know, Just Delete Me is a great source. You guys should use that, by the way, in chat. There's a service called Just Delete Me. Henry's talked about it. Everyone's talked about it. If you have any accounts you want to get rid of, go on that site, spark your memory. There you go.
Very cool.
All in all, glad to be back, Henry. Good to see you.
Totally.
Look forward to seeing more surveillance videos. You know, freaking reports, dude. I love seeing those.
Totally, thanks.
Even though I'm in the middle of class, I watch them every week. Why not?
Thanks for all the notes. I'm gonna go ahead and migrate it to drag.
No doubt, yeah.
So first of all, thank you for your amazing content, especially the privacy tools and guides. It was really my first starting point in this awesome community. But I just have one question. What is the best way to handle data breaches in the web, or especially in the real life, so when they actually happened?
Do you mind repeating that? Sorry.
Okay, what is the best way to handle data breaches in the web or real life that happened currently or will happen in the next day? I know you can't really know when they happen, but what is the best mitigation?
I think the best thing to do with data breaches is, you're right, they're pretty much inevitable. I think it's safe to assume pretty much every service that you're using will eventually become breached one day. So the best thing you can do is prevention. right? Don't sign up for services you don't need. The ones that you are signing up for, use alias information when possible. Really, the ideal perfect scenario is you might have 5 to 10 accounts that you need that have to be tied to your personal identity, and even those will have alias emails, alias phone numbers, alias payment info. Really, aliasing, I think, is kind of the future of data breaches, because it's getting to the point now where you can have an alias for every single service that you're signed up for, to the point where if a data breach happens, most of your services, it doesn't even matter that you were caught in a data breach, just because like they don't have any of your real information. So I'd say prevention is the number one thing. And then the second thing is just being aware of what's going on, right? Lots of password managers nowadays integrate with Have I Been Pwned, including lots of KeePass clients. And keeping up with all the data breaches and seeing if you're caught in any of them, watching out for phishing attacks because of those data breaches is really all you can do. And I think keeping up with surveillance support is probably a really nice way of keeping up with the main data breaches. So prevention is really the key. And that's like what I would focus on if I were you, because that's what you can control.
So thanks, and just one question. NitroKey versus YubiKey, which is better?
I haven't used NitroKey, so I don't know if Jonah has used it.
I've used it. I couldn't really say off the top of my head which is better. That's something that maybe we could look into if you're making a YubiKey video, like alternatives, and we'll address it then.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Drag. I'm going to go ahead. Are there any patron messages? Nope.
Hello?
I just invited Doc Stuke here.
Doc Stuke. Yeah. Never mind. So I am on Android, and I'm using a phone that does not support any of the privacy related custom ROMs. So what do you think? I'm currently on some random custom ROM that I have de-googled following one really good guide on the internet from Mental Outlaw. You maybe hear about him. What do you think? Is this better option than stock Android, or?
Are you asking about a specific ROM option or just general things you can do for a non?
General things.
To this day, I still think that our device specific guides are one of the best things you can do. For people watching the live stream, if you go to our website and you go to our resources, techlore.tech, and go to the resources tab, you're going to see an Android guide for security and privacy, and it pretty much takes you through everything, and it's not ROM specific. It does eventually cover custom ROMs, but there's a lot you can do on just a stock Android device that comes from a manufacturer. So I'd say that's really what I'd recommend you do. Just type in Techlore Android.
Yeah, I've went through that guide, but since Google is pre-installed on most phones, and it is the Google services are pinging constantly Google servers. This isn't that good privacy thing. I think
it's not good, but like the phone pinging Google is obviously not good. But again, privacy isn't black or white, and there's lots of gradients. And so you have to be aware that if you're on a device that you can't remove these Google Play services. There are some workarounds. I know some people use ADB to try to remove some of the Google stuff. You'll have mixed mileage with that. But generally speaking, if you can still uninstall the Facebook app on your phone, that's still moving you in a positive direction.
I have debloated my phone pretty well, I think.
Yeah, and so and that's kind of like what the privacy game is, right? It's just making improvements when you can, and it's really just doing all you can on that phone that you have at the moment. Down the road, you might decide you want to pick a Pixel and install a custom ROM on it, but that's something down the road. So just make sure you're really working with the tools.
Pretty far out for now.
Yeah, and that's fine. Again, just work with the tools you have, and just be aware you're never going to be perfect. You're not perfect right now, and it's just a journey moving forward. There's not much else to say there if you've already taken all steps you can take on the phone. And it sounds like you're already aware of the limitations, which is the other important thing, is you're aware of the limitations of your current OPSEC and your current devices and your configuration.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, one more question can I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
About Ubuntu Touch. What do you think of it? Have you tried it?
I haven't. I don't know if Jonah
And
has.
if I found, if my phone ever gets support for it, should I go for it? Or not Ubuntu Touch, any other Linux-based Android ROMs?
I was under the impression that Ubuntu Touch was discontinued last time I remember, but I
should check that out. I don't think it is.
I mean, it might be like still being developed by the open source community, but I don't think it's like an official thing that Ubuntu themselves runs anymore. I'm not sure about that though. I'd have to look at it. I haven't heard them mentioned in a couple years really.
About any other Linux-based Android ROMs? Should I try them if they ever get ported to my phone?
Well, Linux-based or Android-based? Because I think they're technically both
Linux. Yeah, I forgot that Android is
I
based
think
on Linux. at the end of the day.
I think Linux-based operating systems on mobile still have quite a bit to go to be like a usable system as like an everyday usable system. But they're making a lot of progress. People like PinePhone. It's hopefully getting better.
Yeah, agreed there.
But I haven't used it too much myself for that reason.
Yeah, I have a PinePhone. I have a very, very minimal like lifestyle. I just use a browser, Signal, and KeePass, and I can't daily drive this phone. Like that's how bad it is.
That's I'm not that minimalistic, but yeah, this is going to ruin me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like realistically, we're probably years away from it being like something that could be recommended to most people, at least.
And I don't want to see pissed off Linux people here, because if you're so passionate about Linux, you would be passionate about the people developing these phones, PinePhone, who themselves on their website say these aren't ready for real world daily use. These are developer phones. So just to clear up people who are like, oh, you just got to use a Linux phone and tough it out. Like, no, the actual people developing these phones don't seem to think that it's usable either. So get with reality.
Exactly. Yeah, like it's great that PinePhone exists, but like you got to be realistic.
Yeah.
So if you want privacy, you either go with maximum debloating your phone, or if you can afford it, Google Pixel, and Graphene OS, Calyx OS, or any other that exists out there.
That's currently probably one of the best ways to go. There's custom ROMs, there's iOS and stock Android, and those are kind of the only options you have available to you that are even like somewhat decent.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for the questions.
Thank you very much. Bye.
I did actually, since we're on the topic of phones, someone asked about, I don't normally address this, but someone asked about the Brax phone. Guys, please don't touch that phone. That's all I'm gonna say. That's like, we have actual like open source, like with several people behind these amazing projects that we already have these amazing custom ROMs. And this doesn't really offer anything that those don't offer. So please just stick with the actual trusted community-based things that are going to be better off for you in the long run, which are extremely trusted and give you some of the best privacy and security out there. So seriously, like stick with Calyx OS, stick with Graphene OS, stick with even Lineage OS if you can. So that's what I would say to that. And this actually applies to anything, not just that project. You're going to find a lot of tiny projects out there that aren't vetted. They just aren't vetted projects. And so I don't know. I don't know how much I want to get into this. No, we don't need the Freedom phone. I don't know if you heard, the Freedom Phone is just practically a scam, like most private phone options are. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if Jonah wants to comment on that or anything. I just wanted to get that off my chest.
No, I think you pretty much covered it. You have a super chat in YouTube if you wanna. I don't know if you have anything to address with that right now. Otherwise, I'll go ahead
Yeah.
and invite a couple more people on here.
Actually, just
to chat.
I do want to address Pablo Martinez did give us a little bit of cash earlier, so thank you, Pablo. And also, I did see this one, so thank you, Ascend. We can't promise anything. Definitely just reach out to our support page on our website if that's something that you're interested in doing.
I'm gonna go ahead and invite Hovers to chat.
Cool.
And I'll invite Mendel's photography as well. See if one of them is on.
Also, sorry about the stream that was going. I figured out what was causing it, and it was not the Calyx hotspot. It was actually Lulu. It's like a firewall tool. I disabled Lulu, and everything just started working right away. So, sorry. I'll let one of you, whoever wants to speak first, go ahead.
Hello guys, how are you doing?
Good. By the way, love the profile picture. Code Geass, one of my favorite animes.
It's Mikasa from Attack on Titan.
Oh my! Wait, that's Mikasa. It looks exactly like Lelouch in Code Geass.
It isn't.
Yeah, that's cool. I love Attack on Titan too. I still have to watch the second half of the 4th season, so don't spoil anything while you're here.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry, go ahead. What's your question?
So basically my question is, will the Brave browser with the Tor window ever have the same level of anonymity as the Tor browser, since there are more and more Brave users, allowing us to go unnoticed?
No, and that's kind of a misconception. So Tor, like fundamentally from the ground up, is genuinely built to make users look the same. Right? It's not an issue of, like, yes, there is to some extent, like the number of users who use Tor makes it better for anonymity, but that's not really the issue with Brave. The issue isn't that there aren't enough people using Brave. The issue is Brave is just not built in a way to actually respect users' anonymity. And Brave says this themselves, and as far as I know, Brave is not planning on changing that. And for them to change that, it would require a complete reworking of their browser, which would probably mean they'd have to, as far as I know, there's nothing that offers what Tor browser does on the Chromium engine. So I don't know if Brave can even accomplish that on Chromium. So I don't know. That's probably a better question for Brave, actually, because they could answer if that's something they're even thinking about or working on.
Okay. Thank you so much, and keep up with the good work.
Yeah, and keep up with your animes.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi. One is, I have a question. How do you remove, let's say, if your name is on Google, your personal name, and you search and you find information about you, how would you go and remove that for privacy? And number two is, how would you also run a business? Let's say you're running a photography business. How would you take privacy into that perspective by putting yourself on Google?
Do you want to take this, Jonah, or do you want me to take it?
I think you would probably have a bit more to add as a business owner, but I feel like the main thing is again that like compartmentalization. Like there's things that you're going to have to put online if you want to get business. So just kind of keeping that business identity separate from the rest of the stuff you do online would be the biggest thing for me. But maybe you have more you could explain.
Yeah, and this I don't know if you were here earlier, but someone asked about like pretty much creating a YouTube channel privately, and it's very similar. We've gotten this comment several times now. It's something that we've received comments about for years now, but it's pretty much like, how do you establish an online presence that you want to establish privately? And it really is all about compartmentalization. So just to give you some context, when I'd say like a third of the clients that I worked with for consulting were people who wanted to establish online presences, and it was pretty similar for all of them. It was like, all right, what are you going to be sharing? Is your name involved? Is your face involved? Really figuring out from the ground up what you're going to be sharing with the world, then establishing pretty much the pretty much like the environment that you're going to be doing it on. Are you going to have a second user account? Are you going to have a different device? Are you going to set up an email specific to the business? It's really a thorough process, and it's something that really requires a lot of time to set up. But it's almost all in the setup, and then once the setup is complete, it's pretty easy to manage it. I know I'm speaking very broadly right now because it's not possible to go into this super in depth in just a quick answer. As for the Google thing, it really depends on what it is, right? Like if there was an article written about you in your hometown back when you were in high school, you can try contacting the publisher and seeing if they're going to do anything about that. But it really just depends on what's on Google. If it's an account that's under your control, you can probably delete the account, right? And if it's something that's out of your control, you can try contacting the people. If not, there's like some really iffy things you can try, like there's SEO bombing things that might not even be legal. I don't know. I've heard really mixed things about those services. I don't know if Jonah has any experience with things like that, but it really is just a situational basis.
And also, what's the best settings to use for Tor and the best way to use Tor? Like with a VPN, without a VPN, or VPN and all that.
If you're asking, probably don't use a VPN. And really the only thing you need to touch is really just the basic settings toggle, which is Tor on safe, safer, or safest. Everything else is pretty much good to go out of the box in Tor. There's nothing you need to really touch.
What about bridges? Which is better, without bridges, requesting bridges?
As far as I'm aware, and actually Jonah is probably a good person to fact check this. As far as I'm aware, bridges will give you more anonymity, but if you don't need bridges, it can be a little bit more detrimental to people who actually need it. So I'll let Jonah. I think that's right, but I could be wrong.
That's pretty much right. They're not gonna add any like anonymity. There's no reason to use Tor bridges unless you're in a place that censors Tor and there's no other way to do it. That's pretty much the only reason to use them. Otherwise, I would just stick with the default configuration.
Okay, thank you.
We have a message from a patron. Do anonymous PO boxes exist? So, first, this is going to greatly depend on the country where you reside. So, in the US, pretty much no, mainly because even for myself, if I go get a mail drop, they're legally required to ask for my information when I register for that mailbox. Now, that doesn't mean you can't ship things to that mailbox using a different name. It's just the name you register for the mailbox has to be you. So, for example, I can set up a mailbox at my local town under my own name, and then I only ship things there under Josh, right? So Henry's registered, but no one else gets to see who's registered under that except the business that I'm doing that with. And many of the businesses are just local businesses. So there is that. There are some services out there like Post Scan Mail, I think is the name of the service. That's kind of like a proxy where you register for the service. They ship things to the service and the service ships them to you. I have no experience with these services, so I can't really comment on anything. So not really, legally speaking. But I know there's like many things that people do that are probably illegal that kind of bypass ways of getting things privately in the mail. I don't know if you have any other ideas, Jonah.
No, I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I think everything that you said checks out.
Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and invite Donda and Don Hotep.
Hi again.
Hey, Don.
My question was about consulting. What have you guys kind of learned, each of you? What were like surprises, trends, or the difference between consulting in real life and online? And I'm just asking because I feel like I may want to do that since I'm good at it.
Yeah, so I'm the only one who's done consulting on our team, so Jonah and Tori weren't a part of that. It's hard. It's like really hard because every person has, first off, it's very personalized, and that's why like it's expensive, because like I actually have to sit down and work with someone one-on-one and figure out pretty much everything about them and figure out a tailored solution for them. Some people have a full family and they're asking to be essentially Edward Snowden, and I have to tell them, no, that's not going to happen unless you're looking to do all these like ridiculous things that you're probably not going to have the time and energy to do. So I think it, like, half of the job and half the difficulty of the job is really tapering people's expectations and really making sure they're aware that like what they're doing actually isn't what they want to do, isn't realistic, and the things they should be doing that actually will make a much bigger impact are much more realistic than they think they are. It's also hard to, a lot of people, and this is probably the biggest trend, a lot of people have been fear-mongered by the privacy community into thinking that everything they do doesn't matter. That's a massive trend. Pretty much every client, with like very few exceptions actually, that I worked with, and I worked with I think 10 to 20 clients, I can't give you a number, but it was about 10 to 20 clients, almost all of them except just a couple of them, literally thought that just because like I would say, okay, you should move to an aliasing solution, they'd go, well, can't the aliasing solution track me? And I'm like, yes, but we're moving trust into one person rather than putting trust into dozens of people. It's all about improvement. So there's this big black and white thinking idea, and there's a lot of fear mongering in the privacy community where just because you're not perfect and you're not using Tor for everything and you're not using cubes for everything, you're not private and you're never going to get there, wherever there means. So I think that was the biggest trend, is people just seriously seem to think that it's all or nothing. Now, it sounds like you might want to start your own thing. I think that it's something that's very useful. Just really make sure that if you are trying to start this on your own, make sure to be very thorough with people in advance that it's a lot of work. That was like the biggest issue that I went through with consulting, is people would join, they would pay, and I would ask them, hey, like, this is your game plan, and they just don't do the game plan. So it's not my responsibility, but like you need to make sure people are committed, because it is a journey after all. I don't know if that helps. That was a lot of rants and tangents, kind of.
That's great. I wanted to know like how the trends and like what people usually come up and ask for. And I do agree with like the fear mongering with like the privacy community. At least like when you talk to even just not even people that are kind of in it, just aware of it, they always bring up things like, oh, the linguistic AI, or, you know, like it doesn't matter because your speech pattern is going to be tracked anyways, or like, you know, when you, I don't know, it just, you hear a lot of things and it's kind of dissuading. I get that, how that could be a huge trend for people. So thank you.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, it's like that reasoning that people have is a fallacy. Just because you're presenting a solution and just because it isn't perfect, you shouldn't use a solution in the first place. And I forgot the name. Jonah, I sent it in our group chat, the name of the fallacy specifically, and I want to find it now so people can look into this. Maybe this is totally... No, I want to find it. Stick with me, Don. This is important. Because
I'm interested.
People need to like hear this on the live stream, especially. The Nirvana fallacy. Okay? The Nirvana fallacy is the logical error of comparing actual things with unrealistic idealized alternatives. It can also refer to the tendency to assume that there is a perfect solution to our particular problem. A closely related concept is the perfect solution fallacy, littered in the privacy community. Proton Mail handed over an IP address to these people, therefore we should all avoid Proton Mail, while completely forgetting all of the benefits that something like Proton Mail can offer you. And even though like it's not a perfect solution, it still has lots of great perks. So hopefully that helps you. Nirvana fallacy.
That's awesome, because I find myself sort of doing that too, and having a name to it, that's helpful.
Yeah, I think we all do it at some point. Like, we're all guilty of it at some point, but the best we can do is just be aware of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Don.
I'm going to go ahead and invite EndLink here. I don't think we've heard from them yet. And just to keep Henry on schedule here. I would say that we're probably going to be wrapping up somewhat soon, maybe next 10, 15 minutes. So if you have a question that you haven't asked, we're going to like prioritize people who haven't chatted yet to come in and ask their questions quick.
You guys can hear me?
Yep.
All right. So I was watching a YouTube video the other day from someone named CoffeeZilla. They were talking about right-clicking all the NFTs, basically, right-click saving all the NFTs. But one of the things that came up was about how if someone has like a public wallet address, like you guys probably do for donations and such, there's a attack vector essentially where you can dox someone and put their home address in the metadata of a small transaction that you then send to that public wallet. And with the immutability of the blockchain and everything, that person's address is just, permanently tied to that wallet. I was just going to see what you guys thought about that as an attack vector, and, if you have any ideas to mitigate that risk while still being able to use a public wallet address. Is that a reason why you use Monero, for instance?
First, I want to say CoffeeZilla is an awesome channel, and I really like their content.
Yeah.
And second, I have not heard of this specific attack. So once I'm done, I'm sure Jonah can also say if he's heard of it or not. So I can't actually comment too much on that specific attack. But what I will say is that's kind of like the whole reason why privacy advocates aren't necessarily... Privacy advocates, many of which are not fans of Bitcoin, because it's secure by default because you can't modify the blockchain. Once something's on the blockchain, like you said, it's there permanently, which is why something like Monero is very attractive. So I think it also comes down to use cases. Like we have a Bitcoin public address, but almost no one uses it, thank goodness. And also it's set up on a private device, and we've taken the steps that we have taken in order to make that safe for us, but it might not be safe for anyone else. But I don't know anything about that metadata attack. That's not something I can comment on. Yeah, hopefully that helped. And if Donda, you have something too, you can go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm kind of a fan of crypto, but that shook me a little bit. Like the aspect of, if I have a wallet address in some crypto and someone figures out my home address and sends that to that wallet, the amount of work I'd need to do just to move away from that wallet and try to put it through a mixer to anonymize, the coins that I'm transferring to the new wallet, but then it would still be stuck on that old wallet, and anyone that wanted to could look through the metadata, find that address, and it's pretty much not removable.
And
like
that's
with other things, anything else that's moderated, you could just contact the service and have them remove it.
Yeah,
But
and actually,
with this, it's there.
that's a fun point to bring up, because that's kind of the issue I have with decentralized services in general. Like Matrix is fantastic, right? But there's no easy way to delete all of your Matrix messages. Last I checked, that might have changed, but you have to use like a bot. You have to do it yourself. You also have to make sure that all the servers, all the home servers you're using on Matrix also delete your data. Whereas something like Signal, like you can guarantee every message is deleted because it's a centralized service. And that's not inherently a flaw of decentralization, but that is a flaw with Bitcoin, right? Like you might mix your coins, but what if that mixer is de-anonymized in 15 years? Then that's now permanent. And that's why things like Monero are kind of very important in my opinion. And it's why, like, really, if you're chasing privacy, Monero is really the only way to go. And I know there's other cryptos out there too that accomplish what Monero does, but as of right now, it's like the biggest crypto we can recommend.
Right. Cool. Well, thank you.
All right, now Donda, if you want to go.
Okay, yeah, I just want to let him go real quick. That's crazy though. Didn't hear about that one. I actually watched that one video that CoffeeZilla did about Ice Poseidon, which was crazy.
I have not heard of that. I did watch his video on Tether, and yeah, Tether, red flag.
I actually haven't watched that one, but the Ice Poseidon one's crazy. Like, you should just go watch that one. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but
I will.
So you just go watch it.
Yeah, sounds good.
But the question I have is just media consumption. What are your thoughts on just media consumption in terms of gaming, movies, and just music? Like what options people should, look into in terms of like what they want to consume, if they want to go like old school with like, old school of like consuming media with discs and CDs, or going the method of purchasing those medias and setting up like, ripping the files and setting up their own like server. What do you think people should go in those terms?
Whatever works best for them, right? Like the cool thing is there's so many options. So like you can be an old school CD person, rip them onto your computer and have a whole local library. You can use your own self-hosted solution and use an open source streaming software on all your devices. If you're looking for just a mainstream platform to stream music, honestly, the best I found is Apple Music. Like that's the like it has the fewest trackers in the app. I trust Apple more than Spotify with my data. It's not a fantastic solution. It's still not great, but again, privacy is it's a sliding scale, and Apple Music is like the best mainstream option I've found in regards to privacy, which is not a great place to be, but that's just the way it is. So yeah, it really just comes down to your personal preferences. I don't think there's a right answer.
Yeah, it sounds good. And I think I have another question, goes more towards gaming. What's really, I know it may go to like, setting like separating your personal identity with your like gaming identity, but like just thoughts on like purchasing like digital media on gaming platforms, or connecting the servers on gaming platforms on on PC and on console. I just wanted to hear your thoughts about that as well.
Honestly, I'm a bad person to ask. I don't game much, and I don't know much about the gaming world. So unless Jonah has something more to add, I'm not a good person to ask.
Yeah, it's
I'm
understandable.
not a gamer at all, sorry. But you can join our gaming chat on Discord, and maybe somebody out there could give you some advice.
Yeah,
I was just wondering, like, y'all's thoughts on it. I know for GTA 5, anyone who plays on here, what's his name? Some Ordinary Gamers did a video on Rockstar actually leaking of people's IP addresses and people DDoSing their internet.
Was that a question? Did I mishear it, or is that?
Oh no.
Okay.
No, it's just like a statement. My bad.
Sorry, I was typing and I was distracted. I didn't think it was a question. Yeah, but
no, yeah.
Pretty much.
Oh, you can go.
Yeah, if you have gaming questions, check out the gaming chat, like Jonas said. And actually, the people here on Discord it's Discord, so many of the people here seem to have a lot of great advice about that. I hear them talk about anti-cheats and different things that they do to pretty much get around a lot of the issues in the gaming world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, thank you for having me on here again.
Yeah.
It was nice speaking to y'all again.
Yeah. Okay, so the people here, I'm gonna invite the people who have not spoken yet. I don't think Bombface has spoken. I don't think you've spoken. I don't think you've spoken. All right, I invited 4 people, so we're gonna see what happens. Okay, you're first.
Yeah, hello.
Hey.
I just wanted to ask, is iCloud Mail private? At least privacy friendly?
I don't know. Yes and no.
Or could you?
It's hard to answer that with a yes or a no. There is no end-to-end encryption in iCloud. So Apple, as well as anyone who wants Apple's data that Apple's authorized to hand data to, can, in theory, access your data, which does happen. You can read Apple's transparency report. Government requests are semi-common on iCloud accounts. It's not going to happen to everyone on the streets, but it's going to happen for anyone who's part of any investigation. If the question is Google Drive or iCloud, I'd probably lean you towards iCloud, since there's less evidence of Apple just straight up using your iCloud data for things like ads and your digital profile and things like that. But I don't know. Jonah's actually probably a good person to ask too for that.
I mean, if we're talking about iCloud Drive and not just iCloud, I think there's definitely like more privacy respecting cloud solutions. We keep bringing up the video that's on the TechLore channel about the top five like cloud storage providers. So that's what we would recommend over both iCloud and Google Drive, of course. There's some iCloud services that are end-to-end encrypted, but you have to know what they are, and whether you trust them. It's for the most part not end-to-end encrypted. I think that's a common misconception. So there's a lot of things to watch out for. It's probably not something that we would recommend using generally.
I was asking, as in iCloud Mail, is it the same story with the iCloud Mail too?
Mail?
Yeah, mail.
Like email, that's not end-to-end encrypted either. So that's something that Apple's going to be able to access on their servers. And obviously, I mean, email is just not particularly secure in general. So there's kind of only so much you can do, but there's definitely probably better mail providers that you could use as well.
Like, I don't use mail, but I just receive them for verification purposes for other accounts. Well, that wraps it. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for the question. Bombface, do you want to go next?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So like at first I want to like thank you for your content and stuff like that. I'm like new. Like I found you like a week ago and I'm like super interested in like the Calyx Institute and specifically their hotspot. But after watching your video, I feel like I had some like questions because you mentioned that they're on like the Sprint and T-Mobile network, and I wanted to know whether like what the difference would be like versus Wi-Fi in terms of privacy and security. Like, is it capable of using Tor on it, or should I be using it on it? And yeah, I would just like to like because you go to the Calyx website and it's like no information on that stuff. So yeah, that.
Yeah, so their documentation can be a lot better. First, when you're connecting to a Wi-Fi network from home, the main concern there is your internet service provider, your ISP. So that can be Comcast. In the US, it's like Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, and whatnot. And essentially, if you're not using a VPN or Tor or anything like that, they can at least track the domains that you're accessing on a day-to-day basis, and they can start at least collecting basic information about what you do on the internet. With a VPN, all they can see is that you're using a VPN. This isn't too much different on a Calyx hotspot. On a hotspot, though, it's now a cell company, in this case, T-Mobile or Sprint. With that said, the Calyx hotspot is not registered to you. It doesn't need to be registered to you. And even if it was, I assume that Calyx at least offers some layer of privacy because you're actually subscribing to the Calyx Institute, not directly to the cell company. So unlike your home internet service provider, it's not registered to an address directly. It's not registered to, it doesn't need to be registered to anything directly. Like you can buy your Calyx hotspot with crypto. You can ship it to a mail drop using any name, and now you have unlimited 4G internet everywhere you go. So that's really the main benefit, is you're disconnecting the identity to your internet. And it's still recommended, if you can, to use a VPN or Tor on the Calyx hotspot. And the Calyx hotspot actually allows you to install a VPN on the router itself. So you don't have to do it on all your devices. I hope that answers it. There's just many things that can't be addressed with a hotspot or a cell plan, particularly a cell tower triangulation. But again, it's not tied to an identity, which is a small perk, but it's still like, you know, at the end of the day, it's not de-anonymized data because it's tracking everywhere you go.
Okay, yeah, that answers it. So like, yeah, I guess my main question was just like, I guess privacy and security on the hotspot over a cell network versus Wi-Fi, and I believe you answered that.
Yeah. Did that help?
Yes, it did. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Cool. We're gonna go ahead and migrate to Liffrey then.
Okay, thanks. So I was gonna repeat what someone just said. I love your content. Really good. I have two quick questions. One, I was kind of listening when you said something about music streaming providers, but you said that Apple Music was the most private in your opinion, right?
From what I found, yes, personally.
Right. And also, I found that I was gonna ask, what is the best way to like work against trackers built into apps?
First, see if there's
Mobile apps.
an opt-out, right? Like if something has analytics, like an analytics tracker, if you disable it in the settings of that app, it should be disabling it. You can't always guarantee that, but at least that's a basic thing you can do. And also, if you're on an Android device that supports work profiles or user accounts, you can always keep those more privacy invasive apps on a second account or a second profile. And that's a way to at least keep them away from your main applications. It's probably like the main things that you're able to do there. I know that there's things like NetGuard and whatnot, but NetGuard has their own problems as well. It's not guaranteed to always block those kinds of things. And also a lot of times it replaces your VPN slot. So you have to balance NetGuard or VPN. Those are kind of like a few options.
You can fix that by switching your VPN to IKE v4, v2.
Oh, so you're on an
And then you
iOS
can use both
device.
at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
On iOS at least.
Yeah, so on iOS, yeah, you can have IKE v2 as well as a VPN, which is kind of nice. But it's not NetGuard on iOS. It's going to be Lockdown, I think, is probably the main one, right? Or did I mix them up?
Yeah, it works very well. I use Pi-hole as well.
Cool.
The combination works for most things though.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up. The Pi-hole's good, and also my VPN has an anti-tracker built into it, which also helps. So that's like another option too. Some VPNs have a tracker protection built into the VPN itself.
All right, thanks for the answer.
Yeah.
Where would I go if I have loads of these questions, but I don't want to take too much of your time. Where would I go to ask them?
The communities. We don't do consulting anymore, at least publicly. It's shut down. And so like our communities are the best place to ask those questions. Our community is very knowledgeable and they know a lot. They can answer most of the questions that we're being asked right now, generally.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think I've heard. Okay, Liam 4C, I'm giving you 10 seconds because I sent you an invite. You have 10 seconds to join, or else I'm going to dismiss it. I'm going to go ahead and invite Nope and Freedom Nerd. All right, nothing from Liam, so I'll dismiss it. All right, why don't we do Freedom Nerd first?
Not honest place. Before I say anything, I want to thank my sponsor, Bookie VPN. Now we will continue. When I put my laptop, I see the logo of my manufacturer. Is that a spyware?
No, that's just that I think that's tied to your BIOS, if anything. So that there's not really any getting rid of that.
I did hear that some project about open source BIOS like Coreboot or something like that. Did you try it?
I have not tried it. I don't know if Jonas tried it. Jonah, have you tried?
Sorry, tried what exactly?
Coreboot or LibreBoot?
Oh, no, I had looked into those, but I haven't tried them myself, so I couldn't say anything on them right now.
Is there a way to get a visual card outside of USA?
To get what?
Visual Visa or credit card, you know? Like what privacy.com do.
Oh, like alias cards, like
Yeah,
privacy.com.
yeah.
Actually, here. I recently opened a GitHub repo for some resources I've been saving for myself. This is just for myself. And there were a few services that people shared in the community I wanted to save. I don't know if they're going to work in whatever country you reside in. However, there's Moon, Moon, which is, I think, crypto.
Moon?
Yeah, Moon. Moon Pay with crypto. Essentially, you send cryptocurrency, and it's kind of an aliasing solution. There is Via Buy, VIA Buy. They're going to ship you a card that you can use, supposedly without you needing to supply any real information.
Via Buy?
Yeah. And I think those are the two I can find right now. Those are just two things to consider. I don't know anything off the top of my head, and I don't know have you come across anything, Jonah?
Yeah, I was just trying to think. I can't think of any that work outside the US off the top of my head, but I just haven't looked into that too much myself in general. So I don't know if there isn't anything or if I just haven't heard of them. I would say probably ask in our community. Maybe somebody else might be able to chime in the chat. If there's another service.
All right. Let's go migrate to Nope. Can't hear you, Nope. All right, while you're figuring that out, I am inviting Liam and Cheese Slayer. We've already heard from Right to a Bell, so they're coming soon, but we're prioritizing new people. Liam, you can go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
How do you see the future of privacy? Are you optimistic?
Which one of us?
Probably you, Henry.
Can you hear me, Liam?
Yeah, both. Yeah.
I'll go first. I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better, if it gets better, right? Like I can't imagine a world where things will just naturally improve without something drastic happening that impacts people. That's the assumption that it gets better. I also do just seeing it getting worse with time and never getting better. So I'm not super optimistic, which is why I also like to have a realistic hat on with a lot of things and really just encourage people to do what they can. Probably not the most heartwarming response. Hopefully Jonah has an optimistic take.
It's a difficult question. I don't really know how to answer that exactly. It's kind of a broad question, like how privacy is going to be. I feel like there's always going to be like privacy respecting options out there. Like things are going to be developed with privacy in mind, even as like more and more services come out that try to take as much data as possible. So it's just going to come down to whatever people decide to use. And I don't really have any predictions on that. There's going to be advancements on one side and problems on another.
I see. Thanks.
Thanks, Liam. Cheese Slayer?
Hello, hello. Hope you guys are well.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks so much for posting such awesome content. It's always fun to watch. I'd love to hear how you got into the topic of privacy, Henry, and then also a topic that you guys always mention is that privacy is not just for those in the developed world, which is something that it's quite close to home for me, seeing that I grew up in South Africa. I'd like to know what proportion of your guys' audience is from the US and let's say Europe versus outside.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story of how I got into the privacy world, so I'm not going to tell the whole story, but in short, it kind of started with me wanting to bypass school networks with VPNs, and then the VPN stuff kind of leads to the privacy world over time, and so it's not until like I read The Art of Invisibility by Kevin Mitnick that I really started getting into to the privacy realm, like very seriously. That's my story. There's more to it, but that's just the TLDR. And
Cool. Yeah, that's a good book.
yeah, it's a good book. And in regards to our audience numbers, I don't really mind sharing this. We do have a majority US audience, but it's not by that much. I think our second largest audience is Indian. And then we
Oh,
have a
interesting.
lot of, and then from there, it's like, I don't know, if you combine all of our EU audiences, they might be larger than India, but that's not how the stats are given to us on YouTube, at least. And those are just YouTube stats, so I don't know how that compares with other platforms. But yes, it's predominantly US, and then you're also going to see a lot of EU and a lot of India. I think Brazil's pretty high up there as well.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead. Nope. We're gonna give you another shot to see if you got this figured out. You've been hard at work to make this work, so. Oh,
Okay, can you hear me now?
absolutely.
Okay, so what I was wondering is, what is your opinion on, or maybe you've already like said something about it, but on like things like nursing homes, they now like with COVID and all that, you have to enter in a phone number and a name, like full name and your phone number, and a few other personal, like really personal information. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think they're used, like, do you think they're selling it, or?
I mean, I couldn't tell you. It sounds like they might have a good use for it, so it doesn't necessarily mean they're selling it. They definitely could. The main thing I would say is like, if this happens, like I'll go to a restaurant and they go, "Oh, we need a phone number," because like we don't have the little ringer things that tell you when your table's ready. We only use phone numbers. That shouldn't catch you off guard. If you have everything set up properly. So really, this is a preparation issue, in my opinion. Like, you should have the ability to have a phone number that's not tied to you just on the fly if you're able to do that. It's a little bit gatekeepy of an answer, I know that, but like you should
Yeah.
really try to like have everything set up so it's not a big issue when people just ask for information, because it's going to happen. If it's not the nursing home, it's going to be when you go out to eat
Yeah.
with friends, or it's going to be when you go see an event with a friend, or you go to the movies. So you really should have that stuff set up before you go. I don't know if Jonah.
So what would you recommend? Like MySudo? Is that a good option?
Yeah, MySudo is really good. If you can use MySudo, it's probably one of the better VoIP solutions. SilentLink is something that I migrated to recently, and I do use Hushed. I hate Hushed though, because Hushed is a piece of crap experience, but it's really the only one that really works well on my custom ROM. So
Okay.
yeah, hopefully that helps. And
Yeah,
also,
thank you.
yeah, and like, I don't know, be comfortable lying, I guess, if that's okay. I don't know how serious
Yeah.
this. I just don't know. Like, I don't know if like you're legally obligated to hand over your full name. I don't know if it's just so they can keep track of who's where. Just look into it.
That's basically what it is. It's used as a login thing, so that basically you can enter in your phone number and your name, and then no, you enter in your phone number and your name first, and then at any time you go there afterwards, you enter in your phone number. That's almost like your password, and then it prints out your name on a like a bit of sticky paper, and you stick that to your shirt so you can get in. It's really weird. Like, so I mean, yeah, I don't know, but so like you said, like a VoIP number would probably be the better option. I just wasn't sure if MySudo was a good option, being that I don't think it's open source or anything like that. But
Yeah, I know Michael Basil has like a self-hosted VoIP solution that's open source that you can look into. That's probably the only better option you have outside of something like MySudo.
okay, okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Again, I'm prioritizing new members, like people who haven't spoken yet. Sorry, not new members, people who haven't spoken. So I'm going to go ahead and invite Master Jedi and Eclipse, because we haven't heard from them yet. And Eclipse, you can go ahead.
So hi, Henry. I'm wondering, you on the Techlore site, there's a lot of aliasing websites or services that you can use, but it's mostly US based. Do you have any recommendations for European sites or services that we can use?
Yeah, first, many of them are worldwide, but there are obviously exceptions, like you mentioned, like MySudo, privacy.com. Lots of the aliasing, lots of the things. That's actually not true. Those are the two main ones. Most of the services there are worldwide, and it's something I want to get better about. That's really all I could say. I want to like find better solutions and put them on the site. I'm working on a personal project right now on GitHub where I'm pretty much like finding all the news articles, all the research papers, and all the services I've come across over the years. And I think that compiling all that information, eventually lots of those will end up on the Techlore site as well. So that way things can be a little bit more thorough for users outside the US. But yeah, also keep in mind that our core audience is US based, not to discount the importance of bringing privacy to everyone, but that is why you'll find mostly US based recommendations. Not only are we based in the US, so that's what we've tested and can use, but also a large part of our audience is in the US as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Then Master Jedi is my father. That's such a stupid joke.
Right. Hello.
Yep. Oh, it's a GIF. Absolutely.
Yeah, I got like Discord Nitro for like $1 or whatever for 3 months from like the Xbox Game Pass thing.
Oh.
But anyway, do you think that for example, self-hosting your own like own cloud or whatever on a Raspberry Pi would be better than putting it in Linode or something, or some kind of other cloud computing service?
That's a great Jonah question.
I'm sorry, I was distracted texting somebody else. Could you repeat the question?
It was, do you think that self-hosting, like for example, like an own cloud instance on a Raspberry Pi would be better than hosting it on something like Linode or other cloud service provider that's not like AWS?
It just depends on what you want to do and what your priorities are. I would say Nextcloud and OwnCloud have end-to-end encryption optionally, so you could host things safely on the cloud. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but it mostly just comes down to like cost versus like performance in terms of like uptime and internet reliability. So getting a VPS with like someone like Linode is good if you need your server to be always on. If it needs to be like always accessible by other people, for example, it might be worth it. Otherwise, I usually like self-hosting a lot of things from home on my own hardware personally, just because it's cheaper and I don't have to worry about like the data being lost in the cloud or anything like that. But it just comes down to priorities basically.
That answers it. Thank you.
Cool. Yep.
All right, I think we're gonna start doing our last call. So patrons especially, if there's any patrons, start leaving your final comments, and then I'm probably gonna just do Call Me Dev and Neptune, which are two people who I don't think have spoken yet. I think everyone else there has spoken. So I'm going to invite you two and kind of just a final call for patrons.
Hello. As far as privacy phones, it's really difficult to get set up with privacy phones, just because you have to buy like a mass-produced like Liberty phone or expend a lot of money on a Pixel. I don't have a Pixel. What are your recommendations for affordable and like budget options for privacy phones?
First, I think it depends on how private and secure you need to go. If your goal is really like the best options you have, which is a custom ROM with a verified boot, you're pretty limited on options. So you can look at the budget Pixel options like the 3A, the 4A. You can look at the used markets for those. The cheapest option for a ROM that supports verified boot, at least for the main ROMs, is going to be a Xiaomi Mi A2 with Calyx OS. So you can check out that device, but it's pretty old, so I don't know how much longer it's going to be supported. There is a project also called Divest OS, which is now on our site resources. And Divest OS tries to bring verified boot to essentially Lineage OS. So check out Divest OS. I have personally never used it. It's not something that I've ever used, so I can't really comment on how great it is to use. But that's something to consider. And if you are fine sacrificing verified boot, then you have all the options available to you with Lineage OS. So,
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. And that's like a ton of devices. Lineage OS supports like at least, I think, 80 devices officially, but it's probably hundreds unofficially. So it's just a matter of like seeing what's around your area, what you can get for cheap, and then seeing if Lineage OS is compatible with it, as long as it's an unlocked device, of course.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And Neptune? Oh, they got scared. Or maybe they disconnected. So while we're here, how are you doing, Jonah?
Oh, just great. Just reading through chat now.
That's it?
Sorry, distracted by chat here. Neptune is saying that their mic doesn't work.
Oh.
So,
Okay. I will invite you three, and that is it for requests. 4. This is it. This is it, people. I invited, so if all of you can join, Corey, if you can join as well. Okay. All right, I was able to, okay. How about B4KT? So you all are the last people, so you can go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep.
What would what would you say would be good for, instead of VoIP, because I know a lot of services are blocked from that.
Yeah.
Like they all, like, for example, Google will just literally outright block your number or stuff like that.
Yeah. What about it?
I think he's referring to the fact that like a lot of services block using VoIP numbers like Google Voice. For, like,
Yeah,
verification
what would
codes and
be
stuff
your
like that.
suggestions?
Well, first, if you can, try to get your hands on other real SIM cards, which is easier said than done, mostly just for convenience sake, because you have to be able to like switch out SIM cards constantly. eSIMs are kind of nice, and that's where services like Silent Link are really nice to have, because you can have a second number with Silent Link, and it's a real number. It's not a VoIP number. And also, different VoIP services might take you different lengths. Google Voice, for example, I know it is with Google, but if you just happen to still be in the Google ecosystem, Google Voice tends to have a higher likelihood of success than other services like MySudo. So those are kind of the main things that I would suggest. And I don't know if you've had luck with anything else, Jonah, considering you have like 50 phones.
No, I don't think I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I think the main one right now is Silent Link that you're using, just as like a real number, not a voice VoIP number, so it's not blocked by different services.
Yeah, Silent Link's
I don't know
been
of any.
awesome.
I don't know of any similar services. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool service. Like I've been using Silent Link every site. I mean, it's a real phone number. For them to deny it would mean they would have to like deny real phone numbers to people. So it's a fantastic service.
So you daily drive it, is that correct?
Well, yes, it's on my personal phone, but it's not my main personal number. But yes, I daily drive it.
What is your experience with their network connection? Like, what would you say is the quality of it.
I believe it's just AT&T, but I don't use the data plan, so I couldn't tell you. I just use it for the texts and phone calls. So I think it's
Right,
whatever
and
AT&T
also-
is for your area.
Do you think Seed Vault on Calyx is secure enough to use for like very personal matters, or no?
Yeah, it's all about how you use it. So Seed Vault is like a fully encrypted backup solution. So as long as you're storing, first off, if you trust the encryption and you trust the math, you should be able to just upload that backup literally anywhere. Even theoretically, you can just publish it to our public chat here. And theoretically, no one should be able to access your backup. Now, if you want to be more secure, you also wouldn't be uploading it to different places, and you'd make sure that people don't have access to it in the first place, which will definitely put you in a more secure place. But yes, Seed Vault is a very secure backup solution.
All right, thank you. It's good talking.
Yeah. All right, Corey Short.
Yep, hiya. You hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. I asked you a question earlier about Nextcloud. You started a playlist on it and you've done one video. I was just wondering when you're likely to do a next one. Simply because I'm in the middle of setting up an email to email completely encrypted. As you know, that can be done nowadays. And I'm also setting up a Nextcloud server. I just needed to know, like, as I'm watching your videos, to try and make sure it's kept private and secure. I was relying on your videos quite a bit. So I was just wondering when you was going to do the next one.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Like, it's a question I've been getting a ton, and I really just can't give a time estimate on it. There's a lot going on in my personal life. There's a lot going on. The different thing about that video series is it's actually like legit being done as I'm going. Like, I'm going on my own Nextcloud journey myself, and so it's really whenever I get it done,
okay.
I can make a video, which is what that original video said. It's like, hey, I'm figuring this out too, so I really can't give any time estimates, just because like I'm going to. That's the whole point of the guide. Is like I'm being able to give you like first time going in a Nextcloud experience. So it just whenever it gets done.
Yeah, because obviously I'm trying to build. I don't know if you can tell by my accent, but I'm definitely European, and there's not a lot around the UK, so to speak. The UK is very anti-privacy. So obviously I'm trying to build up this, and then I want to offer it freely to others. But I want to make sure it's secure before I even consider offering it to others.
Yeah, well, as long as like I don't know if you already got it set up, but if you got it set up and you got HTTPS set up and you make sure that you're using strong passwords and everything, and as long as you followed the official guides, it should be secure enough for just basic things that you share with people. There's not like any secret magic sauce that I'm going to be revealing to the world as I'm putting this guide together. If you do want the assurance, then sure, you can wait. But if you've already got this set up and you got the basics, as long as you have just the basic things in the guides, you're good to go.
Okay. I mean, I'll obviously watch you and see how you do, and then I can see if I missed something. Thank you.
Yeah. Freedom Nerd?
I want to ask if I can get Monero without letting the government know. Is that possible?
Can you repeat that?
Can I get crypto like Monero without letting my bank or the government know? Or is that hard?
Yeah, a site I would recommend you check out is No KYC. So let me make sure I have
Wait a second.
Let me make sure I have the right link. One sec. I guess that's on my. There it is. It's coming. KYC not me.
What?
KYC, the 3 letters, space not me. It's a website that pretty much takes you through crypto exchanges that allow you to buy things. that allow you to buy things like Monero without KYC, which is know your customer laws. So that's kind of what you're asking about, is how to obtain Monero without KYC. Off the top of my head, there's a local Monero. So that's a local Monero. That's an exchange that you
I
can...
know, bro. That I can remember that name easy. How local Monero work?
Yeah, actually, local Monero is on our resources page. So if you go to techlore.tech, go to resources, and you go to the cryptocurrency section, you'll see local Monero there. It's an exchange that lets you buy a Monero without any KYC.
What is KYC?
KYC is what I was talking about earlier, which is know your customer. So that would be like, having to set up a bank account, having to put in your real information when you... Yeah, so it's KYC. No KYC means something doesn't require personal information.
Bro, I did think that was a website or something. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, what I was referencing was there was a site called KYC Not Me, which is a site that tells you which services don't require KYC. So it's a good resource to be able to find that.
Know your customer, right?
Yes.
Is that Windows spyware?
What was that?
Is Windows spyware?
Did you catch that, Jonah?
No, sorry. Could you repeat that?
I can. I did say, is that Windows spyware? Windows 10, the operating system. Hello?
Yeah,
Sorry,
You
I'm
hear
not
my
sure
mic?
that I understand the question.
Yeah, I'm not getting it either.
I think he's
I'm
asking if Windows 10 is spyware. Right?
Oh.
Right.
I mean, like, it's not built from the ground up to be spyware, but yes, it is not very privacy friendly at all, to the point where you can probably call it spyware. There are lots of things you can do on Windows to make it better, and you'll find that in our Windows Privacy and Security Guide. But ultimately, there's just some things that are really hard to address, and that's when it's better
Linux.
to move over to Linux, or even Mac OS is probably a much better solution for a lot of people than Windows.
I think Mac works out.
Yeah. Hopefully that helped. We're going to go ahead and migrate to Write to a Bell.
So, I kind of on that note, actually, one last, hopefully less loaded question. Would you recommend overall firewalls like Portmaster, Glasswire, Lulu as worth the degree of elbow grease they do require putting in, at least on Windows? Because there's a significant amount of work.
Portmaster?
As just an example, yes, those kind of firewalls, yeah. Yep.
See, I don't know. I think it depends on the configuration, because I don't have much installed on any of my computers. I'll have like just a few programs that I just use. And so it's not very hard for me to set up at all. Like I use Lulu on a MacBook sometimes. And Lulu is essentially Portmaster, but for Mac OS. And it's extremely easy to set up. You just set some exclusions, and then a new app is installed, and you pretty much have to whitelist or blacklist it. However, if you're someone who has a ton of programs and there's tons of things constantly changing on your machine, then yeah, it's going to require some upkeep. And it's really your call. If you're dealing with services that are inherently not private, and you don't want them to be contacting the internet when you don't want them to be contacting the internet, then you really have to be using these tools. And I would argue using Portmaster is easier than using the built-in Windows firewall. So I don't know, it's really kind of a personal question. Like everything in the privacy world, you have to assess how well something is improving or not improving your threat model, and you need to be able to prioritize accordingly depending on how much energy you have, right? Because you can, yeah. So if you haven't done a threat model yet, that might actually help answer your question. But long story short, I'd say it's just a very personal thing. You might find it very useful, other people might not.
Okay, that's valid. Yeah, I'm still working on putting the full threat model together. All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'm not seeing anything else from patrons, and requests have been shut down. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and start finishing this off. So first, I want to thank everyone who tuned in today. Right, thanks to everyone who asked questions and engaged with us, and hopefully our responses helped you. Also, thank you everyone on YouTube. I know we didn't get back to many of your comments, but that's just because we only have two people, 4 sets of eyes, and we also have to manage the live stream and the Discord stage. There's just too much to manage, and we can't get back to every comment. So at least hopefully streaming this to you was useful, so you still get the information. And yeah, just thanks everyone for tuning along. If you enjoyed this, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/techlore. We have merchandise as well, and we also accept Monero and things like that in the description. You can find all of this down below. And also join our communities if you're on YouTube. Like join our Discord, join our Matrix if you want a more privacy-friendly alternative. And also, that's mostly it. And I also want to thank Jonah for being on to help out with some of the questions. Really appreciate it. And we wish Tori could have been here too, but she had something come up.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Next time.
Yeah, next time we'll have Tori, the video editor Tori. With that said, I think that's really it. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and see you all next time.